Hi, everyone. So my name is John Koplin. I'm the Managing Director of Cisco Investments here in EMEA, and we are the venture arm and M&A arm of Cisco. On the venture side, we are investing around $200 million a year, mostly into enterprise software. Security in the enterprise is a super important area to us. As a company, we just spent $2.4 billion earlier this year acquiring a company called Duo Security, and I'm very happy to have with us one of our investments in the security space, which is BehavioSec, that we've done earlier this year. So Neil, thanks for coming. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, BehavioSec, and some of the disruptions in the security space that you guys are riding off of these days.
Sure, yeah, and thanks for inviting me along, John. So my name is Neil Costigan. I'm CEO at BehavioSec. My own background is I'm a cryptographer, I guess, by training, and a software developer by trade, but I've been CEO at BehavioSec now about 10 years. I think it was the oldest guy in the room was asked to take the lead, but prior to that, actually, I've done this journey before, taken an idea in security from Sweden, where BehavioSec was founded, and to California, and a successful exit. And then some time in the industry as I ran R&D for Gemalto, one of the big security companies. But BehavioSec is a Swedish company by origin. It's a university spin-out from a university in the far north of Sweden in a city called Luleå, up in the wilderness there. And a couple of undergrads came up with this idea that you could identify or verify people by how they interact with their device. And so I ran into them about 10 years ago, so I'm 10 years at the helm. It's been quite a journey, and we've grown from that university spin-out incubation lab to seed funding back around 2011, and getting our first customers and growing it to the point we're here.
Great.
But on it, you asked about disruptions in the industry. Security is one of these areas that's really hard to disrupt. There's a lot of, I guess, worry or risk. People are like, sure that it works? Does it really do what it says? So there's been a lot of the technology, things like, calculators and smart cards and that. The base technology is coming from the early 70s. I mean, it's really going all the way back there. So there hasn't really been too many big changes. But recently, I think with the explosion of mobile and the explosion of mobile services, people realize that this kind of enterprise security, the kind of thing that was suitable inside the military or inside a bank, they try to take these things, PKI and smart cards and calculators, and apply them in the consumer world and give them out in retail. And the user experience is horrendous. That was just basically the problem. And you've invested hundreds of millions in this digital platform, things like banking or mobile payments. You need the security. But people weren't using them or are not really engaged that much. The out-of-band SMSs, where's the calculator, does the smart card fit in the phone or whatever. People will try it the second time, and kind of stopped. And so there's been a big change where technologies like ours fit in a different approach that's more kind of user-friendly, and user-friendly would be the big driver, where you're trying to take that complexity and the cost away from the end user and kind of put it in the background or in the network or in the fraud or the security layer, and make the decisions there. So people who understand those complex questions actually are answering them. So we're part of a wave of interesting technologies, all taking slightly different approaches to put transparency and take friction out of the equation.
So one of the things that I thought was really interesting when we first started talking was the way that you guys have approached security with the actual product itself. So it'd be great for you to explain to the audience how you guys are an always-on product, not just, you're not just present at login, but you're with me the entire time in the journey.
Well, that turned out to be one of the keys. But just step back a bit. What we do is behavioral biometrics, and how we define behavior, there's a number of ways of doing it, but we define it as how you interact with, say, the device or your browser or website. It's how you type, it's how hard you hit the keys, how much of your finger you're pressing on the key and what pressure you put in there. And when you're finished typing in, say, the number, how much area of your fingers sitting there on top of the keys and that. So it's the rhythm of typing and the depth of touch and how you hold it. And the phones are, there is an amazing amount of sensors available for us to get this. And it's kind of a mixture of Moore's Law giving us the computing power to do it, breakthroughs in algorithms in machine learning, which is a bit buzzword bingo here, but machine learning and big data have helped us kind of jump up a bit with regard to the quality of the biometric we can do. But finally is that thing you were saying is that, and it doesn't need to be the gatekeeper. It's not like the door with the password or that you get in and then you can do what you want. We're doing it all the time. We sit there and every time you move across a page, every tab of the screen, every swipe and movement, we can in real time provide a score of how likely the person is who they say they are. And if it's not them, maybe who is it, or is it a bot or malware attack? So there's a few use cases that are pretty appropriate, but the key is that it's no extra steps in front of the user and a real-time score that's happening continuously all the way through a session.
So maybe you can tell some folks here about some of the customer wins that you've had, some of the the growth that you've seen, because when we first started talking, you already had tens of millions of users, so it's been really impressive.
In this area of security, the customer's pretty shy about saying the security system's the God, so if I could get some of the big logos we've had to fully go out and mention the use cases, the reason, the amount of the ROI, the amount of fraud we've prevented, and the cost savings against the legacy security systems, this would be a no-brain business, it really would. Unfortunately, they're a bit reluctant and shy to do it. We've got a couple. Joining you in the investment round, ABN AMRO came in as one of our top customers who really believe in the technology, and that endorsement was huge for us. Besides yourselves, the credibility that's given us, and that's a fact. But as you say, we're out to tens of millions. We've an inside target to be over 100 million paid users by the end of the year. Now that's ambitious, and it's one or two big production pilots that are out there for us that will make us those numbers. But as you said, tens of millions year by year. It is pretty cool. Yeah.
So maybe you can tell folks a little bit about the funding journey you've been on. We came in at the Series B earlier this year, but you've obviously had a journey that's been you said 10 years in the making. So maybe you can give people entrepreneurs in the room some idea of what that's entailed.
The journey is a little bit European kind of focus, where we did get great support from the Swedish government agencies, the innovation, the university kind of connections as we set up. So access to things like incubators, funding and support for things like the patents and that we have was kind of all there at the early stages, until we got to a point where Connor Ventures from Finland led the seed round back in 2011, and that's when we call year zero, when we raised $1 million. Actually, we got €1 million and we had 1 million users about the same time, so that was the interesting point. We've got great support from DARPA in the US. Part of the success we've had is that we've been working quite a lot with the security services in DC, who are also an early adopter. But then Octopus Ventures here in London, and Northzone, the big kind of Nordic powerhouse, though I believe they're London-centric now, came in 2014 and helped us move beyond the Nordics to pretty much, our wins over the last few years were all across Belgium, Holland, Germany, Switzerland, France, big digital banks adopting technology. And that kind of that activity caught the interest of Silicon Valley, and so Trident Cybersecurity, who are now ForgePoint, led around taking Octopus, our existing investors, yourselves and ABN, with really a mission to help us take the success here and replicate it in North America. So we've been out there, we relocated headquarters to San Francisco. We've onboarded a great team, serious, senior experience, kind of product marketing, company marketing, and sales. And they've kind of given us, we would be viewed, I guess, as a very technical, over-engineered European, Swedish technology company. And now we're getting that lift that California and Silicon Valley does so well in around our messaging. And it's about, I think, sales and marketing execution in North America and through the channels is the current activity.
Great. Well, we're really excited to be on board with you. We're looking for big 2019, and to continue the journey with you from here on out. So thank you very much.
And thanks for having us along, John, and thanks for the support and the belief in BehavioSec. Actually, I would say it's been a major impact, particularly as we engage in North America, that we've had Cisco behind us. So it's been a bit of a game changer for us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.